Hello and welcome to Cartoon Boom. This is a show where we wake up with the Saturday morning sun, plop down on the floor with a big bowl of sugary cereal, and watch all your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm your legendary Super Saiyan, Joseph.
And I'm a rechargeable Sith Lord. My name's Chris.
And today we watched Skyland.
Did you
Not
catch
Skylanders.
my joke there? I was one rechargeable,
Yeah,
and two the Sith Lord thing. Yeah,
kind of. I mean, I guess I didn't really get the Force impression from it as much as I guess you did. I could see where you're coming from.
Oh yeah,
but it's less lightning and more just like balls of energy, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not thinking so much as the lightning thing as much as like the entire aspect of this entire story is very Star Wars-ish. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'll talk about that for sure. And this was suggested to us by NX Gamer. So thank you, NX.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Should we just start calling him Nix Gamer?
Do you think that's what he wants? Nix Gamer?
Nix Gamer. That
NX
sounds like
Gamer, Nix Gamer.
It sounds like he belongs to someone named Nick. Like he's a gamer.
Belongs to a Nick.
Oh, hey, that's Nix Gamer over there. And Nick's like, oh man, I was looking for him. Thank you.
What if his name is Nick though?
Yeah.
Nix
Gamer.
and Nix Gamer.
I don't know about this. Let us know. Hey, let us know your opinions.
We should probably ask him.
Sound off in the comments what we should call him.
No, let's make a poll to see what everybody else wants us to call this person. He gets no opinion, but everyone else does.
Yep, he's got to deal with it.
So the show Skyland aired from 2005 to 2007, created by Emmanuel Gorenstein, Alexander de la Petelier, and Matthew Delaporte. Oh, those are hard names.
These are fun
Produced by Method Films and 9 Story Entertainment. Ran for 2 seasons, 26 episodes, and originally on France 2 in France, Teletoon in Canada, and Nicktoons Network in the US.
Oh, Francais. We're getting a lot of French stuff this year, you know?
Yeah, this is another original French thing that I think it was intended always to come out here, but
sure,
it was created by a French team.
Interesting. Do you think, okay, hear me out. This is probably the dumbest question for me to ask. Did they actually make French fries, or are they just called French fries?
You know, I don't know the history of French fries since I officially call them freedom fries.
No.
No.
Don't tell me.
I definitely do not. But
I do remember, like, at that one point when, like, George W. Bush got super mad at France, and he's like, we're not calling them French fries anymore. They're freedom fries now.
But truly, I'm not sure what the origin actually is. It's probably one of those like dumb misunderstandings that we as Americans have, and they're not French at all, would be my guess. But I haven't researched it, so I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. I'll go with that.
So if we have any French listeners, tell us, are those your fries or not?
Yes, please do.
For a short synopsis of this show, prior to the beginning of the story in the 23rd century, the Earth has shattered into billions of pieces which orbit around a central core. In this new world, named Skyland, an evolved form of human has appeared, Saiyans, who absorb energy from sunlight and use it to fuel special abilities such as telekinesis, telepathy, mental control, astral projection, energy balls, or blast, and electric rays. Huh.
C'est la vie.
That's the synopsis. That's like the official synopsis, which is so weird.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just like Saiyans to me are, and I'm going to make a lot of Star Wars comparisons. They're the Jedi, and then you've got the Sphere, which are basically the Sith. So yeah,
kind of. I mean, it's like also Mad Max in space because like water is the hottest commodity, true. And the Sphere is hoarding that water for purpose of control. But it's also like I'm gonna have so much trouble not calling them Saiyans because every time I even see that word, it looks like Saiyan, but it's Saiyan.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a little bit of trouble with that too because I was literally playing Kakarot last night, and so like so Saiyan is real fresh on my mind.
On your mind. Yeah.
Oh man.
Jeez. Well, who were some of the actors who played in the show?
There's quite a few, but I'm gonna do my best to get through them real quick. And I'm not gonna lie, some of these last names I just didn't have time to find the correct pronunciation of it, so I'm going to warn you right now, a few of these are going to be butchered. But Mahad was voiced by Tim Hamaguchi, Lena voiced by Phoebe McCauley, Mila voiced by Alex Belcour, Oslo voiced by Juan Kioran, Diwan voiced by Athena Karkanis, the Brigadiers, which are all the robots, voiced by Tony Daniels, Cortez voiced by Jack Langedik. I don't know, man. It's a very like a Scandinavian looking thing. Langedik? I don't know. I like that though. We'll keep that. Chang voiced by Cameron Ansel. And I did want to say real quick, so a lot of these folks don't have tons and tons of stuff to their names. Some of them are more live action. Some of them just haven't appeared on a lot of stuff. But Cameron Ansel was actually the voice of Arthur for not every episode, but a lot of episodes between the periods of 2004 to 2019. So if he sounded familiar at all to those of you that watched Arthur in the early 2000s on up, that might be why. He's also the voice of Prince Lumen from Spider Riders, which I'd never heard of, and that just sounds cool, so I wanted to mention that too. I mean, if it's just a bunch of dudes running around like riding on spiders and having gunfights, that sounds great, like
that is one of those things where I hope it's exactly what it sounds like.
It's like Dino Riders, but spiders instead.
But on spiders, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Wayan was voiced by Milton Barnes. Dahlia voiced by Allison Court. Allison Court is someone that we have talked about quite a few times on our show. She was the voice of Jubilee from X-Men, the animated series. She's also known a lot in the gaming world as Claire Redfield from the Resident Evil game series. And in live action, lots of folks might be familiar with her growing up with her on her show Big Comfy Couch, where she was Lunette, who was the main character that sat on said big comfy couch.
So was that the clown looking girl?
Yeah, the clown looking. Yeah, kind of like a mime-ish clown sort of makeup. Yeah, that was her.
Cool.
Yeah, and then the last character here, Vector, voiced by William Colgate. And as far as I know, no relation to the toothpaste, but never say never. You squeeze them, you don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah. See what comes out. Just for a little bit of never mind. I was gonna make another toothpaste joke, but it doesn't matter.
I like that you're just like, what kind of toothpaste joke could I make to keep this going? I was
gonna chain out for that, but I was like, I don't want to go into more toothpaste jokes. It's fine.
One thing that I'll add on to this is that a lot of the cast here was also part of a show called I believe it's called Franny's Feet. I didn't want to dive too much into that because I just didn't want that term to be in my search history.
No, then you're gonna get either.
I think it's a kid's show, but it's like, I just don't want, I don't want whatever Google is going to try to give me, after typing that in.
Yeah, you don't want to be feeding feet into the algorithm.
I know.
Who knows what's going to come back?
No, it's not going to be good. So
unless that's your thing, in which case that's fine. But
hey, no judgment to you feet folks, but keep those socks and shoes on for me, please, if you meet me in person.
So for a few tasty morsels out of our big bowl of Skyland cereal, Skyland's full French title is Skyland Le Nouveau Monde, or Skyland the New World.
Yeah, I actually knew that.
Really?
Not the trivia.
Okay.
I just I still remember
Oh, you knew what that meant.
I remember small bits of French. D'accord.
Did you ever take French? Is that why?
Yeah, I took 2 years of French.
Oh, okay. I took Spanish.
I literally talked about this like 4 episodes ago.
Well, I don't remember.
Yeah, I know. Wait, you took Spanish and you complained to me about how you don't know any Spanish.
Well, yeah, I don't remember it, but I took it.
Oh, okay.
That was so long ago.
That's a good point.
The first part of the animation was produced by Attitude Studios of Paris, France, with large amounts of facial animation work and rendering outsourced to DQ Entertainment in India. Subsequently, the later part of the series has been completely animated and finalized in DQ Entertainment of Hyderabad, India, using a completed motion capture shot in Attitude Studios. It appears to make extensive use of motion capture technology for a next generation animation look. Yeah, so I guess at the time, that was kind of a new-ish thing they were testing out. I don't know if it necessarily worked. Maybe back then it worked.
Well, yeah.
But,
I mean, I was thinking along the same lines.
Yeah, with my current eyes, it didn't. I wish they hadn't done that. But hey, it was a fun experiment.
I like that you say with my current eyes. I wasn't a fan. Maybe the next set of eyes I acquire, I'll enjoy it. But
I'm just saying, with my old eyes, maybe I would have. But this is my first time ever seeing this, and so it was hard to watch it.
I'll say this, there's things I like and things I didn't like about it. Now, I will say in those first 2 episodes, I know were made together because in some circles, that's just one episode, and others, it's, part 1, part 2, which is how we watched it. But like the mouth movement did not match the dubbing really well, or I don't know, maybe it's the other way around, I'm sure. If it was done in French first, I would just say like the dubbing and the mouth animation, the facial animation stuff, it wasn't great on this. So it makes sense to me that 2 separate studios were doing that. Like that gives a little bit of context. But in the last episode we watched, I didn't notice that problem as much. So that might be why, is because it was like another studio was outsourced for that specific task, and they did just a really poor job of it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I have opinions on it. I don't want to go into all that right now, so I'm going to move on, and then we'll dive deep into that, into my reasons why it bothered me in a minute.
Secrets.
So between 2010 and 2011, 3 books inspired by the show have been published by a Castilian Spanish writer with the pseudonym David Carlyle. They were originally solely published in Spain as a trilogy with the name Skyland, followed by their novel names. Atlantica sold the rights in Brazilian, Catalan, Spanish, Polish, Turkish, Macedonian, Russian, Hungarian, and Chinese. Book 3 was never released in the Netherlands due to criticism on the 2 previous released books' grammatical mistakes and lack of interest.
Oh, no. So, oh, no. They needed a proofreader, apparently.
Yeah, so dialogue was one of my biggest, gripes with this whole thing. So if
I'm with you
if
on
the book's written anything like the dialogue, then I get it. But I guess grammatical mistakes are different than just bad dialogue.
I mean, yeah, maybe. But maybe that's part of it. Maybe he's just like, hey, man, just to keep it congruent, I'm going to write some bad dialogue in here in this book.
Yeah.
Got to keep things steady.
Okay, let's go ahead and jump to the episodes we watched for today's show. Dawn of a New Day, Part 1. Season 1, Episode 1 was the very first episode where Mia is forced to hand herself over to the evil sphere in order for her children, Lena and Mahad, to run to freedom.
Yeah, that happens. Let's start off with as you like to say, the elephant on the table. Can we talk a little bit about the look of the show, the graphics, all that stuff?
Yeah, it's not it doesn't look bad. Especially the backgrounds, those are great.
The backgrounds are gorgeous in this.
Yeah,
they're just very different than the character animations are totally different. Where the character animations feel very cell shaded. The backgrounds are very I don't know, almost hand drawn watercolors, shading. Just a completely different style.
Yeah, it's very painterly in a way. Yeah. It almost seems like concept art type backgrounds, and I appreciated that. It looks really good. But then the characters contrast a lot to those. In the same way where in old cartoons, you might have really elaborate backgrounds, but you're still just watching these cartoons on top of those backgrounds. Kind of the same way with this, except with these weird CG and mocap combination characters.
Right.
I think the style of their clothing was pretty cool. I liked at least the idea of this world, this post kind of apocalyptic existence where Earth is basically exploded and they're just living on the remains of Earth.
Yeah, and I like too that it's not your typical post-apocalyptic world where everything's dirty, dingy, broken. It's more evolved than that, and that's kind of what I want to say. I think that's one of the other reasons. I keep comparing this to Star Wars, and that's not going to stop really. It feels very I don't know, you've got these pockets of people in different places. Some of them are, instead of space pirates, you have sky pirates, and smugglers. And then you've got, your resistance fighters, and you've got your big evil empire, which in this case is the is Sphere and the Guardians. Then you've got like your regular everyday people, but hiding among some of those people, you've got the Saiyans, which are these gifted people that can do, they have powers. They can do telekinesis. They can shoot energy. They can sometimes see into other people's minds, things like that. Again, it's very Force-like. And then, the Empire or, Sphere has their own people that are abusing that same power. They have their own Saiyans and everything. But regardless of how much I keep comparing that to Star Wars and everything, I really like the setup of all of this. And I love the design of the world too. Like, everything's a lot cleaner than you would expect for a post-apocalyptic world is kind of where I was going. So I got off on my tangent there. But it's very specific with, Sphere. And that's why it reminds me, again, they remind me so much of the Empire because they have these huge, massive ships that when they arrive, it'll take up like the whole like sky space and everything. Just these giant looming, slow moving ships that you get this epic kind of music and stuff as it kind of comes through the horizon and everything. And I love that. I think that is some of the coolest. It is the coolest part of this story, this show, are those kinds of moments. Like, there's the one, we'll get there later in the next episode, but like when they introduced that, was it Karzan prison? That thing, like as they're approaching that, I was like, oh my gosh, that thing is cool. It's huge.
Oh, that was just like a giant cube.
Yeah,
basically.
I just love the design of it, and that it's just like it's just slowly looming at you out of the sky, and it's just very sinister. It's that clean-cut, sinister presence, much like the Empire. Instead of like, they could have gone the typical, like the Mad Max route, like you were talking about. They could have gone where everything's dirty, everything's scary looking, but everything's much more organized and orderly, and more military. And that is what makes it a little bit more scary, I think, more intimidating of a presence, I'd say.
Yeah. I guess, man, you really like this a lot more than I did, I think, because you just went off on a super long tangent about it. And I just didn't find it that interesting. I think that it conceptually, sure.
Yeah.
I think there's something there, but other than that, I liked the way the characters were dressed. It kind of had a combination of like a Eastern inspiration with futuristic in a way. So there's a lot of like robes and like flowy kind of clothing, but also, there's the futuristic additions to it with all these like different kind of like random belts and pockets or whatever.
Hey, gotta add those pockets.
It was fine.
Yeah.
You gotta have pockets. If the future involves more pockets, great. I always need more storage space on myself.
Exactly.
But so I was fine with all that, but it just didn't come across interesting because I feel like it was a cross between too many things I'm so familiar with already. So it was like the entire show was kind of a trope to me of all these different shows doing similar things, either shows or movies or whatever. You're comparing it to Star Wars, but really the comparisons are so widespread that you could point to almost anything and say, oh yeah, it kind of pulls from that. It kind of pulls from that, pulls from that. And it's fine to take inspiration from something, but I just think it needed to do more than it did to really stand out from the crowd.
It's a very trope heavy show. And I like that you said that too, because this is one of those things that I think really shoots this show in the foot is almost every instance of what was going to happen in this show, especially this first episode. I could tell what was going to happen, like almost every scene, like to the point where like, when we see Lena for the first time and she's playing basketball and it gets stuck on the hoop and she starts looking at it. I'm like, and we don't know anything about Saiyans yet. We have no idea about this stuff. And I'm just like, she's looking at this ball. Oh, I bet you anything she's got like telekinesis or powers or something. And lo and behold, yeah, she starts like picking it up with her mind, drops it through there. And I'm like, okay, I bet you anything then somebody's going to yell at her to not use her powers. And then her mom walks out and is like, I told you not to use your powers. And it's like, okay, yep, I'm calling like every beat on this thing, like as it happens. And then when we get introduced to Oslo, who's sort of like the, let's say the Darth Vader of this world, like the big bad from what we can tell. I'm like, okay, he's going to have some kind of connection to the mom. He totally did. And he does the whole like, join me and we can rule whatever's left of the earth, Skyland. And that whole thing and talking about it was prophesied. So yeah, I totally agree with you. It really does take so many tropes.
And that guy especially, he was Oslo. He was so fixated on like, let's rule together. And even if it's not like the mom, it's like the daughter's like, then I'll rule with you.
And then his brother
episode with his brother in it, it's like, oh, let's just do it. Like he just wants a companion. Why won't he rule with the chick who's with him all the time, like the bald woman?
Yeah, Diwan, like
yeah,
his
sure.
DoorDash gets delivered and he's like, you arrived 5 minutes early. Together we should rule. And it's like, hey man, like you promised like 5 other people already, but that's fine, I guess.
He just needs a queen.
Yeah. I would say this is another thing that I noticed real quickly in this one is I don't like to harp on voice actors, but some of the voice acting in this wasn't fantastic. And I think my biggest gripe is with the mother, which Mila. I struggle sometimes whether it's the voice actor or if it's just the direction, but I can say without a doubt the dialogue is written really poorly in a lot of this.
Yeah.
It is just trope dialogue, and some of the dialogue doesn't quite even make sense. And then where some of the things that really threw me off is when there's like instances of something happening and then just a complete 180 overreaction from a character of like when Mila's talking to her kids, she's sending Mahat and Lena away because she has put her powers on display. She took out a whole bunch of the brigadiers. She knows that Sphere is going to be coming after her, so she puts them on a ship. She's controlling it with her powers to get them out of here, and they're like slowly drifting away from her. And like, even though it's like a real slow drift, they're looking at her, and then all of a sudden Lena's just like, oh my god, and it's just like, well, what? Like, why? That was weird. And I don't know. There's a lot of moments like that where it goes between like the dramatic moments are way too underplayed, and then some of the moments that could be more subtle, they just went totally off the wall crazy with it, and it just doesn't make sense.
I think some of that was like, since they were combining that mocap with, but not for like the faces were animated. I wonder if there was like a separation there that made the motions not necessarily match what was going on, like arms kind of flailing around when people are talking and stuff like that. But yeah, it was just a weird like mismatch with a lot of that. So not only was the dialogue just like really tough to take seriously, but you're also just watching these like crazy emotions going on at the same time where it's like, this doesn't line up at all.
Yeah, and just getting back to the animation real quick before we move on to, there's one thing I liked about it and one thing I didn't like about it. I did like that some of the animation looked really smooth, and that was usually with like the bodies, and it's because it's mocap. Like there's like some movements and stuff they'll do, like when they move around, and just like the movement of a character's like arms or legs or something like that are so smooth and crisp, and I'm like, man, that just looks really good. But again, like the facial movements are real stiff, and some of the fight scenes, I'll say this, when ships have fight scenes in this show, those look pretty decent.
Yeah.
But when it's the people in this show, it looks incredibly stiff.
It looks so funny too. Like My favorite fight, not because it was good, but because it made me laugh, was the one where what was the bald woman's name?
Diwa? Or D1.
Diwa.
Sorry,
when she kept D1, when she kept like trying to shoot Lena with that fireball or that energy ball, and she kept like deflecting it back at her.
Yes.
And knocking her over. Like that was so funny because it happened so many times, but she kept doing it.
They kept just reanimating that same scene. Yeah, that same motion. And it just
so I just found that pretty good.
And this is another problem they had is like during those scenes too, like, well, they'll take a motion that could look good. Like when I was saying earlier, like the arm movements and stuff usually look fairly smooth. But when we get to those fight scenes and stuff, they'll do like, because it was a mocap thing, they will do like a post slow motion thing on the already existing footage that's like already been rendered. So then it looks really choppy and it doesn't look good when they do it. And they're also adding that to these like light effects and things in there too, that already like a lot of the light effects and the orbs and lightning and stuff like that already, those don't look that great. Those already look more akin to like reboot stuff than everything else in the show does. Like everything else in the show looks appropriate for the time, but like some of those visual effects, like those lighting effects don't look great. And then when you add on that post like slow-mo, it looks pretty rough.
Yeah, because it comes off like it's almost rendering or like it's choppy, that slow-mo.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't feel natural.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's just dive. Okay, so these first two episodes are combined. I want to say that right now so that doesn't feel like we're just sitting in one episode for too long. So just like I said in the intro, their mother, Mila, has the Sajin powers. And so she's trying to protect her kids from these, what are they called?
Guardians.
The Brigadiers, which are the Brigadiers are basically the
stormtroopers,
robot stormtroopers of the sphere. And so they are coming to collect their water tax, basically. Lena mouths off at one of them, and then they're going to take her in. And so Mila has to use her powers, and that's when all that gets revealed. And so then it becomes like a whole, oh, well, now you're going to get taken. So her not wanting to get her kids taken in with her or put her kids in danger, she sends them off to meet with a family friend,
Vector.
And that's kind of what sets things in motion.
They got to go meet Vector, who is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of this story.
Yeah, pretty much. And you got your if we're going to keep comparing to Star Wars, you got your Han Solo, who is Cortez.
Exactly.
But Cortez is like leading a group of kids. Like he doesn't have like a serious crew.
He's got his kid soldiers, you know?
Yeah, child soldiers throughout.
Oh, man. Cortez. Yeah. I like his personality. Like he's probably the more interesting of most of the characters, to be honest. But like, it's weird to me. I don't know. It's weird that we've got like this sky pirate dude who is the leader of the rebellion and like is rocking a kilt up in his thing. Like, and that's no knock to like, you know, Scottish heritage or anything like that. It's just weird to see like this futuristic world kind of thing, but this captain of this ship rocking a kilt where everyone else is wearing more futuristic stuff. That was weird.
Yeah, I mean he is Scottish. I'll say that.
Hilariously Scottish.
It's not like he's just randomly wearing.
They gave him the most like hilariously Scottish accent they could possibly get.
Yeah,
which I don't.
Like if Scrooge McDuck had been flying an airship.
Yeah, like I don't think a genuine Scottish accent. I'm thinking, you know, hey, can you do a Scottish accent? Yeah,
no,
sure,
great.
There is a scene in here that I did appreciate, and it's probably because it's like the one scene where they did surprise me, and it wasn't like a huge surprise. It was basically like I predicted something, and this time I was not correct. You know, they go to Vector, and Vector's just like reveals that he knew their dad too. They've never met their dad, no idea who he is, blah blah blah. But they're like, you know, instead of just straight up telling you, which even Cortez was like, why don't you just tell them who their dad was? He's like, won't let you find out on your own. Let's take you to this old city. They take him to this place. They have to find their way in. They find the Hyperion, which used to belong to this rebellion hero named Marcus Farrell that Mahad like idolized. And well, here's a prediction I did get right. I'm like, oh, that's totally gonna be their dad. Turns out, yep, totally their dad. But this is where they got me. Dion shows up, not a surprise, is gonna destroy that ship and everything. But Lena is like trying to use her powers to combat her. And I was just like, okay, here's where we see Lena go total Mary Sue. She's Rey from Star Wars. She's just like, she's the most powerful and, can take her out, and she's more powerful than she should be. And that's where I appreciate that doesn't happen. Like, Lena's just getting knocked around the whole time.
Yeah, Lena does not have some sort of like Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 2 burst of energy, at least not from what we saw, to where she just is like this omnipowerful, like, oh, you're the chosen one kind of thing. Not yet, anyway. Although we do get kind of hints that might be coming in some words that they're using, like the what is it, the daughter of light or something like that.
Yeah, we know there's a prophecy about the daughter of light, and obviously it's her, but I did like that, they didn't from the get-go. It's not just like, oh yeah, here's how powerful she is. It's like, okay, well, maybe
she's angry. Now she's gone Super Saiyan 3.
I'm like, I appreciate that, like, when a hero honestly has to work for it, like, they don't just get it because they're quote unquote chosen or whatever, like.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, is she working though? Maybe that's something we'll get to see.
We don't know.
But she's just always like tagging along and just has to use her powers out of circumstance. It's not like she has a trainer or anything. And, I thought that Vector was going to act as a trainer for her in that Obi-Wan way, but I don't know if that's the case, at least not from what we saw.
The one thing that I do want to call shenanigans on, though, is this boomerang that Mahad has. He's got this boomerang a la Sokka from Avatar: The Last Airbender. He uses as a weapon, and somehow he can toss that thing. It will cut through the necks of all of these like metal brigadiers, these robots, and then he can just catch it again. And somehow how does it cut through all of those robots and not just slice and rip through the tendons of those fingers and leave that kid an amputee?
That I was wondering the same thing, like how he's able to catch that without it just like chopping his hand off.
Yeah.
Unless like cutting through, I don't know, 8 robot necks slowed it down enough to where he could catch it comfortably.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it didn't look like that thing slowed down whatsoever. I think he's got some serious plot armor protection. So.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
At least give him a glove or something, so it'd be more like, okay, he's got a glove, it's fine.
Yeah, like the kid from the one Mad Max movie, the little feral kid.
Oh yeah,
had the metal boomerang.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I'll say this though, there was a short, and unfortunately extremely short, sky fight between once like Mahad got the Hyperion out of there, and he starts shooting down all of these like sphere ships and stuff like that, and that was cool. That looks really good, and it's like, man, they really need to rely on doing more of that stuff for this show, because like
that's what
those
I was
looked
thinking.
Good.
Yeah, give me more ship fights, more like air fights. That's what I'm here for. Not any of this ground
Don't give me none of
like,
that
it is just
ground mess with all these sniveling kids.
I don't. This show was not equipped to give us satisfying ground combat. So the more you're in a vehicle in the air, the better.
Yeah. And as I said, those look good. The animation on those was far superior to anything else in the show. And I don't know, like there's something about it that part intrigued me quite a bit. And I was like, well, I usually don't like fighter pilot stuff. Like even in Star Wars, like I never really got into that aspect of things, but like I really liked how this looked. It might have just been the movement of the ships and like how they all fought, but I was just like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. I really like this. So
conversely, I really do like that fighter pilot type thing. Like X-Wing and TIE Fighter kind of side stories were very interesting to me in the Star Wars universe. So this air combat is right up my alley as far as like entertainment goes in a world that like welcomes it like that. And so this was one of the high points for me of the show in general.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
So yeah, that essentially kind of wraps up the first 2 episodes, basically. I mean, there's some things in there, like we get introduced to Oslo, who is the emperor / Darth Vader of this whole thing, where he's very strong a very strong Sajin, sorry. Oh, it's such, okay. And then we get to see like, okay, so he is, like we said earlier, just trying to recruit someone to rule the world with him. And so much so that he's not even necessarily a fan of the sphere or the empire, quote unquote, as a whole, basically, because he's even saying like, we can drop everything. We just need to rule the world. Like, that's all I want. I don't care about all this order and whatnot, or the control of this. I just want to rule with this power that I have.
Yeah.
And so we're introduced to him. We see all that, and we're also seeing, what was another big point of the first 2 episodes? Is I think we get to see
the mom gets imprisoned. I mean, that was right. The other
we get
big
to see
thing.
her taken to that big cube prison. It wasn't the Daughter of Light. It was the Lady of Light.
Lady of Light. That's right.
So that's what he tries to keep telling Mila is like, you're the Lady of Light and I'm the other person in this prophecy. So hey, we're gonna rule together.
Exactly,
and then she's like, no, like my kids are these. Like, we've got Mahad and then Lena are the prophecy. And so that's where they've got a lot of contention. And the Sky Pirates end up taking them to Porto Angel, which is, I guess, their hidden base. And that's where the at least first episode's cut off.
Don't you think that, like, maybe the mom should have kept that to herself, that the prophecy was about her kids? Like, maybe...
Yeah, maybe say it was somebody else's kids.
Yeah, maybe they would have backed off looking for her kids. Like, she should have just been like, oh, yeah, it totally is about us. But, like, I'm not gonna help you, so stalemate, I guess. And then, like, they're not out there looking for your dumb kids.
Yeah, not like that. They don't make that their single most important mission is to find those kids. Like, oh no, I've said too much.
Right. That seems like, I mean, I don't want to tell her she's a bad mother, but I think maybe she made a boo-boo. A small error in judgment.
So the last episode we watched for today's show was Shadows of the Past, season 2, episode 1. This was the one chosen by NX or Nix Gamer. Lena and Mahad find themselves on board a patroller transporting a dying Oslo. Since Oslo is the key to finding their mother, they agree to accompany him to a remote block where his power can be recharged by his twin brother. They really give everything away in that description. But okay, this was an episode that I was like, okay, maybe this can redeem it for me because I like where it's going. And then I was just really disappointed in the resolution. I don't know if you felt the same way, but I'll describe why as we get there.
I was totally in the same boat of like, I think this was really, it started out really strong. And I was just like, yeah, I think they have something here. But what did it in for me, and you said the entire plot point of this episode, Oslo is dying. They come across him and their idea is, well, if he dies, we can't use him as a bargaining chip to the sphere to release our mom. So we're going to take him to his twin brother, power him up just a teeny bit so that he stays alive. And then, we'll be like, hey, sphere, here's your dude. Give us our mom back. The logic that is going to work is wild to me. Like, I knew from the get-go that I'm like, oh, okay, they're going to power him up too much. And that's exactly how it goes.
Yeah, but it was also like, this was a moment for us to see a redeeming quality in Oslo that could make him a more relatable or at least like sympathetic villain. But instead, we got none of that. He was just a straight up villain throughout. And that really disappointed me because they just missed the opportunity to make him interesting at all.
Well, and here's the thing that I would have been okay with too, is like, I would have been fine with him going the complete opposite of that too. And it felt like kind of a dud. So like, if he went there and what he did is like, he gets in a light chamber, his brother gets in a light chamber, his brother transfers like a little bit of power to him or what. That's the thing. Oslo gets in there, he gets a little bit of power back, he takes control of it and starts siphoning even more power and gets real powerful. But like it doesn't do that much damage to his brother, just enough for him to be like, now join me. And his brother's like, no, you must be stopped. And then they leave. But to me, I'm like, okay, what you should have done is do like what you said, show some sort of redemption for Oslo, have Oslo do something for the benefit of his brother because it's his brother, or Oslo should have killed his brother. One of the two, like it should have been one of the two extremes and not like Oslo semi hurt his brother a little bit and got what he wanted. It's just like,
yeah. So, okay, let me pitch the two approaches.
Okay.
So if we're going the complete villainous route, then it gets to a point where his brother has helped him recharge and he's seeing him go towards like, okay, now I'm gonna rule the world, whatever. I'm back to being powerful. But his brother is in the process of dying and is like reaches out to him to try to stop him. And we get a moment where it looks like he's going to like help him, but instead he just like sucks the rest of his power out and becomes even more powerful, kills his brother and continues on. Or
would have been great.
They could have taken that the opposite direction. Yeah, and that would have been fine if they had committed to that. But if they went the opposite direction, maybe instead, after this charging is done, like he comes out, he's acting super villainous like he was, and he's about to attack the kids, or he has an opportunity to like take out the kids finally or whatever. But then he sees his brother is dying and has to focus his attention on that instead and like getting him back to health. So he then has to let the kids go as he's mending his
to save his brother,
dying brother.
Yeah, and the kids escape
that,
while
like,
they have
that's
their
not
chance.
even like right. That doesn't make him a good guy. It just means he's human, and it's like, okay, great. So we at least get some redeemable qualities here. He has a heart.
Yeah.
But instead, we got none of that. We got a right in between, which is like his brother lived and he's still a villain.
Yeah.
It's like we got nothing satisfying out of that resolution.
We got lukewarm villainy is what we got.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's rough.
And okay. And what they could have done at least also is like at the end, his brother could have like joined the rebellion and then helped them as he charged back up and became powerful again. But instead, it's just like, hey, man, like, we know you got hurt. We're just going to find a place and drop you off on this other
yeah, that's right.
this other base.
I forgot
so we're never
about
going to see you again.
He basically shipped him to a retirement home. Like, hey, I know you're this dude's brother and you're not bad, but like, I don't want to deal with you and I don't want you on my ship. So I'm going to drop you off in front of the fire station here. Someone might claim you. I don't know. But
yeah, you're too old to be part of my crew. It's only 13 and under.
That's
here.
wild. Yeah, that's true. Cortez does have a unfortunate, age range on his ship.
Yeah.
But one thing that I was really confused with too was when we first start seeing like when Oslo first starts going through the issues he's having before like we know that he's dying, he keeps seeing these visions of his brother and stuff, and we don't know who it is at first. It just looks like honestly this world's version of Luke Skywalker because of the hair and the robe, and I was just like, man, they aren't hiding it at all anymore. I thought maybe this was supposed to be like a memory. I thought it was like maybe young Oslo or something, but so when Lena goes in there too and like connects with them and is trying to keep him alive and looks into it too, and then she's just like we have to go to his brother or whatever, and then we cut to the scene with his brother and he's like, my brother is coming, we have to keep him alive, he's dying. I'm like, wait, what? That wasn't a memory? Like there was no context clues to tell me that wasn't a memory and that we were just seeing some weird mental link between these brothers. So like I was totally confused for the first like 10 minutes of this episode because of some of those scenes.
That's exactly what I thought. Like for me, I was like, okay, this is Oslo with hair was what was in my head. I thought it was a flashback. I thought that's what I was watching because they do not like give you any kind of lead into it. And it kind of felt like it had that fogginess around the side. So I was like, okay, flashback. Clearly, this is him having like a fever dream because he's dying or in whatever kind of condition. And we're seeing his past. Again, this was me thinking, oh, he's going to be a redeemable character. Maybe he was a good person at one point or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, it wasn't any of that.
I was kind of hoping for that kind of storyline too, because my thought was, and this might be a little spurred too because of like the haircut he had that I was just like, oh, there's the Luke Skywalker. I was kind of hoping to see a little bit of a storyline of like, what if this character was sort of this world's Luke Skywalker and he went the dark path, you know? And maybe that's more of like a Kylo Ren sort of thing if we're still going Star Wars. But like what if, and because we know he went to an academy and he knew Mila from back in the day and stuff. And I'm assuming that maybe that's how she knows him. But I'm like, I like the idea of like, you know, maybe he was good. Maybe he did do good things. Maybe he was training and, you know, someone did get to him when he was younger and something happened and that's what turned him. And I thought maybe this episode would look really deep into like, you know, what made him what he is, what dark thing happened to him and turned him. But no, we didn't get any, like we weren't even close to that.
No, it's so funny that like these fictional accounts we're creating are more interesting than the episode itself, because really it is very like cut and dry of he's dying. They try to help him by taking him to his brother. We meet his brother, who we feel is going to be of some importance. His brother just uses the battery for him. And then nothing else happens except that he's like, hey, you got to roll with me. And then he's
supercharged.
Like, no,
now he's more dangerous. Way to go, guys. Real smart move.
Yeah, he's supercharged, more dangerous than ever. And Lena, maybe like a side of this is like Lena gets a taste of the, you know, dark side of things or that kind of power.
Yeah.
And she said it was horrible. Something we should point out, though, is so they get charged by the sun. I said that earlier, but it's not something we've really touched on. But since Oslo and his brother are like usually trapped inside, like they have their own like light chambers or sun chambers. And so Oslo has become like addicted to that sort of power. So he can use his powers even when he's inside at night. It doesn't matter because he is like overcharged with it. But the issue is that it's slowly killing him and draining him. Exactly. That's the price of it. Like with the dark side.
Would that be the same as if Superman just sat inside with a sun lamp?
That would be like Superman, yeah, kind of like sitting in the sun.
He just hung out in a tanning bed all the time.
Yeah, whenever it's not daytime, he's just in a tanning bed.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I mean, basically, that's kind of what we're going with here. But
he gets addicted to tanning.
Yeah, and then Oslo just says he'll be back and stronger than ever next time they meet or whatever. So it's really contrived, and that's it, man.
Pretty typical.
We made it sound more interesting, or we at least pitched more interesting paths they could have taken, but they chose the short and easy route.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, looks like it's about time we sent our kids to the sky to help Lena and Mahad take on the sphere, or see if Oslo might invite us to take over the world with him, then see what they thought of Skyland.
I really want to like this cartoon, and there's some things to like, but there's also just a lot of... But it is kind of basically Star Wars, just in the sky, which makes it a little bit closer and within my reach. Now I really gotta step up my sunbathing so I can rule the world with my light powers!
This show was fine and all, but I do have to address something. So you're telling me the Earth shatters into a billion pieces, which we then decide to still live on, and the best name we could collectively come up with for this new land in the sky is Skyland? Ugh, it's no wonder our planet exploded.
I didn't even think about that. That's a really good point. Oh man.
Yeah, I can't think of alternatives right now, but that just seems so basic.
Yeah. Wow. That's a really good point. Just Skyland.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What do we call this new land in the sky? Skyland? Great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Got it in one.
Wow. I mean, if that doesn't just sum up a lot about this show, though, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like taking the easiest possible route. Maybe
surface level.
Yeah, and maybe that's just to make it more appealing to like a younger audience, like just like very like face value. And that's fine. That's a tactic. I just was hoping for more from it.
It felt like there could have been more. It really did.
So what did you think of the show overall?
This was hard because I think that there's pros and cons to this show, which it's got me feeling a little bit torn. I like that the graphics were different, that they did take a different approach, but it just wasn't always the most pleasant thing to see, as we talked about. You know, sometimes you got those super smooth character motions, and you've got the really, really impressive looking aerial combat. But then at other times you get the exact opposite. A lot of stiffness, and especially the face, the mouth movement just was not great. I think where the cartoon does shine, though, is that it has a lot of potential in the overarching world it's created. That I think we can probably both agree on, that they made a really interesting premise and interesting world to explore. There's just a lot of cool stuff about it. Regardless of if it is similar to Star Wars, if it's similar to other things, it's an interesting world. Where it falls flat, though, is that like they didn't do enough interesting stuff with it, and the dialogue writing and some of the line delivery was just, man, it fell so flat, and there's a lot of plot points too that were just kind of absurd. Like we just talked about that last episode, where the idea of powering up the villain in hopes to trade him, it seems like a no-brainer bad idea. Like, I mean, you know it's a bad idea as the viewer the entire episode, so we inevitably know how the episode's going to turn out. Like, there's no way this episode is not going to turn out with him being overly powerful and you know, being worse than he was with how the show's been going. So that was just kind of a huge bummer. But I don't know. This is why it tears me, is because I really like the idea of this show. I really do. It has so much potential, but the execution of all of the steps in between just have so much to be desired. So I'm going to rate Skyland 2 bowls of Super Saiyan cereal out of 5.
I'm kind of in the same boat you are, in that I feel a little bad for how much I didn't care for this, because I don't think it's not offensively bad or anything.
No, not at all.
It probably has a lot of like nostalgic value to some people who watched it back then or grew up with it, even in the same way that like when I introduce people to something like Reboot or Beast Wars and they're like, oh, that's real hard to watch. It's like, yeah, I kind of get that. But those were also like much better written shows. So they had that in their favor, at least. But yeah, for this one, I think it had its intended audience and maybe it performed well for them. And it's decently reviewed on IMDb. It's like a 7 point something. So it wasn't like a super disliked show, but I just wasn't prepared for like that weird blend of CGI and mocap that we got, or the grating dialogue. For me, especially with Lena, like you were saying, Mia got you, but Lena for me was just everything she said. It just didn't feel like it had enough emotion in it, or I don't know if it was the voice actor or the lines in that case.
I feel like it was a mix of the writing and the voice direction being poor.
Sure. Yeah, you know, I won't blame the actor. I will say voice direction, because like they can always do retakes if it wasn't delivered well, but this one, it just didn't seem like there were any retakes. It's like, yep, that's fine.
And I was thinking too of like situations I've been in, and I know you know this, that I was in a situation where I was on a project and like I could not do the type of performance that they wanted, and mainly because my voice is not what they wanted, and that is extremely frustrating when like when you've made it obvious like what your range is, what you can do, and it's kind of like yeah, cool, but do this, and it's like okay, that's it doesn't work that way, for one.
Yeah.
And just the idea that like if somebody's directing you and stuff like that, like voice actors don't get a lot of time, honestly, to look at scripts and prepare themselves. It's not like real world acting where like someone might get a script, they get to read it, they get to approve it, they get to practice it. A lot of times it's like, hey, here's your lines. You got to come in tomorrow and do this. You know, sometimes it's maybe you get the morning of like, hey, we made all these changes to the script. Here you go. You're going to have to do this. So sometimes it's literally like sight reading and stuff while somebody's giving you direction on how to do this. So if the emotions are inappropriate for it, for like the scene, whether it's a lack thereof or there's too much, like I talked about, a couple of scenes were way too overdramatic, that is on the voice director for sure, more than it is on the voice actor, because the voice actor can redo those lines. It's like, but did the voice director give them the direction to redo those lines or ask for them or even tell them to do it this way? So
I think it was a combination of things. Like the character motions didn't always match up well, like I was talking about earlier, or go heavy enough to match what the dialogue actually was. So a lot of times, like, it'd be someone really emoting, like, at least as far as the words go, it sounds like something you should have emoted, but the motion of the character couldn't match up to that. So they didn't deliver. I guess they gave the kind of delivery that the slow movement of those characters would have done. Implied.
Yeah.
Instead of like actually like really lashing out in an emotional moment.
Yes.
Because it would have looked weird for someone to actually like scream or really yell at someone with the motions that they had going on because of just how limited they were. So I think that also limited the dialogue at the same time.
Yeah.
Or the delivery of the dialogue. At least
I think in that way that the motion capture direction was probably not the best as well. So
no, definitely not.
It almost just seems like there's a whole lot of like little silos and stuff, and all these sides were not talking to each other.
No, this would have really benefited from either being a 2D animation or at least pure CGI if you're going to go that direction. It's this blend of the mocap and CGI that really hindered it. And while that's an interesting idea, it just couldn't keep up with what the story was trying to deliver. The most positive thing I can say about this is I like the idea of it. And the background and ships did look pretty impressive, or pretty cool at least. And the ship fights were cool. So I liked all of that. It was just everything else that alone wasn't enough to salvage like a whole lot out of this show for me.
Right.
So overall, I would give Skyland 2 big bowls of Hyperion O's cereal out of 5. And I think it's built on interesting lore with a decent foundation, but the final product left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I really dig the concept. I really like the world building that they did, but it's just they didn't deliver an interesting story from what we saw. But I don't know, like it's one of those ones where I feel like I'd rather read a synopsis of each episode so I get an idea of like the overall story than I would rather watch this play out.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in the style that they can deliver it that would be satisfying enough for me to want to jump back in.
I would say, though, I do want to give some credit, though, where I think that were somebody to take this property and try to redo it with better writing and just a different approach, I think the IP itself is pretty cool. And I think if in the right hands, they could really have something interesting that I would totally give the time of day. Like, I would be interested if someone was just like, hey, we're going to remake this and we're going to do it right. I'd be like, okay, you've got my attention. I'm in.
Yeah, there's something there for sure. And that's why I say, like, I like the concept and the lore of it could be interesting. It's just like they've got this playground that's full of these interesting toys, but they're just playing with like, I don't know, the most basic ones there. They're not trying to branch out, or they're not using them creatively.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So thank you to NX Gamer who suggested this. I'm sorry if we if we harped on it a little too much, but I think we were pretty fair with it. At least we tried to be.
Yeah, I would like to tell you what I tell everyone else with shows we don't like is like, please tell us what you did like about it so we can maybe have an understanding as to like what the people who are fans see in it.
Yeah, and if there are other episodes or another episode that you think would totally change your opinion of it, feel free to let us know. And that goes for everybody too. If there's any past episodes that we've done and you've been like, oh man, they totally didn't really get the feel for it, let us know. And because we're taking that into consideration as possible new episodes for the Patreon content, of revisiting some of the past episodes that we've done and maybe seeing them in a little bit of a different light and seeing if that changes our opinion on them or if we still think they're a steaming pile. Winx Club. We'll see.
Yeah.
Real quick before we go, just want to give a real quick thanks to a bunch of folks over on Apple Podcasts that left us a bunch of real nice 5-star reviews. So big thank you to Corgi Lover, Picky Gamer 42, and Book Lover 99999. Thank all three of you for those lovely reviews. And all three of them also suggested lots of things for us to do. If you really want us to do those, I definitely suggest you hopping over to the Patreon. If you want us to get on those, if you are able. If you're not able, it's a possibility that we will get to some of those suggestions at some point in the future regardless, but that's kind of your surefire way that we will do some of those suggestions. But some of them are definitely ones I'm interested in. Like Cuphead comes up all the time. Everyone really wants us to do Cuphead. So
yeah, I've seen Cuphead. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
so, and I've played through it.
Owl House and Amphibias are ones that I've seen pop up quite a few times too. And I actually caught a little bit of Amphibia, just a small episode of it, and that seeing just a little bit was enough to make me be like, wow, I really want to get into this show and understand it because it looks awesome. It looks like I'm missing out a lot. So definitely one I want to check out.
Well, listeners, looks like our milk supply is now on dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. And next week, we'll be watching
Lupin the Third Part 2, suggested by Patreon supporter Sparrowhawk.
I do like Lupin the Third, but is Part 2 like a movie?
Nope.
Or
it's a show.
Is it the second season of a show, or is it literally just an individual show called Lupin the Third Part 2?
I'm pretty sure it's just called Lupin the Third Part 2.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think
we'll
they just literally I think Lupin the Third was created for so long, and then I think, it ended or was canceled or something. I think there were several years, and then I think they were just like, hey, let's do more Lupin the Third, and I think that became Lupin the Third Part 2. I might be wrong, but I think that's how it is.
Interesting. It could have just been like Lupin the Third, Lupin Strikes Back, or something like that. Lupin the Third, Return of the Lupin. All right, well, we'll see. Well, once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
We'll see you next Saturday.
Presented by Nerdsloth,
a place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.